They told him to be kind, to be gentle, to never raise his voice, never show his teeth. So he did. And slowly, something inside him died, because harmless wasn't the same as good. It was just absence, weakness, a hollow smile dressed up as virtue. Don't be ashamed of needing help. You have a duty to be strong, not for you, but for others. Marcus Aurelius. This video won't trend. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't comfort. It calls out the lie that good men are supposed to be soft. Most will scroll. Most aren't ready. But the ones who've held back the fire just to protect what they love, they'll hear this like a mirror. Subscribe or don't. The message isn't for the passive. It's for the ones sharpening in silence. He defended the weak in school. Fists, bruises, detentions. Not because he wanted violence, but because someone had to stand up. The teachers called him a problem, but the bullied, they called him safe. A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. Jordan Peterson. The greater the power, the more restraint it requires. Seneca. He didn't want violence, but he trained like it might come anyway. He planted peace, but carried iron beneath the soil. Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. He never needed to shout. His presence said enough. While others performed masculinity loudly, he embodied it silently. And that silence, it carried more gravity than any roar. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Teddy Roosevelt. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. They thought he had no anger, but they were wrong. He just knew where to put it, in discipline, in training, in stillness. And when they crossed the line, they saw the monster wasn't gone. It was just sleeping, tamed. Learn to be a monster, then learn to control it. Jordan Peterson. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus. They applauded his gentleness until he showed capability. Then they flinched, not because he did anything wrong, but because they saw what he could do and chose not to. That's the paradox of restraint. It exposes the weakness of others. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. He carried babies with hands trained for battle. He spoke softly with a voice that could command chaos. That paradox, that's what made him trustworthy. Not the absence of danger, the choice not to unleash it. Be strong enough to be gentle. Peter Cullen. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. The strongest ones never flex. They sit in the back of the room, watching, waiting. Calm. Not because they're weak, but because they've made peace with their power. Those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the world. To be stoic is not to be emotionless, but to remain unaffected by destruction. He forgave. He listened. He gave chances. Until one day, someone mistook it for softness and pushed too far. They didn't find a pushover. They found a boundary with breath. Do not mistake my kindness for weakness. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. Seneca. The world teaches men to be liked, to stay agreeable, harmless, silent. But he didn't want to be liked. He wanted to be ready, ready to defend what mattered, even if that meant being misunderstood. Everything good must be protected. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Marcus Aurelius. He never raised his weapon, never needed to. because everyone around him felt it. There was a storm behind his silence, and that made him invincible. You can keep scrolling, go back to the noise, to the numbness, to the applause of harmlessness. But if something in you remembers the fire, if you've trained your demons and taught them silence, then you've already heard what most will never understand. This isn't a community, it's a brotherhood. Subscribe or don't. Either way, sharpen.